What's up guys, it's your boy the Anime Top Scholar, and I'm back with yet another retro anime recommendations video, this time looking at 3 shows of differing popularity from the 80s. This is the 3rd video in this little mini-series of mine, so if you haven't seen the 2000s and 90s recommendations videos yet, then I recommend going back and watching those after. Now, in case this is your first time watching, I have some rules for these videos. But the only rule that really applies in this video is the rule about what I recommend. So basically, the first anime will be a very popular one, the second one will be a little bit less popular, and the third and final recommendation will be one that I think a lot of people don't really know about. So, with that out of the way, let's just get to these recommendations. Up first, we have the most popular pick, and that's the 1988 movie produced by Studio Tokyo Movie Shinsha, aka TMS Entertainment, called Akira. This legendary movie was directed by Katsuhiro Otomo, who's also directed things like Steam Boy and Memories, or more specifically the cannon fodder short from Memories. The synopsis for Akira goes something like this. After a singularity destroys Tokyo in 1988, Neo-Tokyo is rebuilt, but it is plagued by corruption, anti-government protests, terrorism, and gang violence. Now the year is 2019. Here, Shotaro Kaneda leads a motorcycle gang called the Capsules, a group of misfits known for riding large custom motorcycles, as well as constantly fighting with another motorcycle gang called the Clowns. One day, Shotaro's friend Tetsuo Shima is caught up in an accident with an Esper who's escaped from a government institution. Because of this encounter, Tetsuo starts to develop psychic abilities of his own. This causes the government to try to quarantine him so that he won't be able to develop these powers fully in an attempt to prevent the city from being destroyed. Now just to be clear, there's a lot going on in this movie, and I don't want to give away more than I have to. Akira is a legendary movie at this point, especially in the US, as it's often credited as the movie that sparked the Western fandom of anime that we know today. But Akira isn't just important in the US. It was also a cult hit internationally and opened the eyes of many to the possibilities that could be realized in animation. For you see, while this movie might be old, its visuals and animation are on another level compared to most other anime, and even holds up well today with its more than 160,000 cells of animation and its use of computer-generated imagery. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, visuals and animation are fine and all, but what about the story and characters? Why, I'm glad you asked, Persona I totally just didn't make up in my mind. The story and characters are good for what they are. At its front, this movie is a bloody and awesome action show, and the world and characters does a good job of setting the scene for the hard reality that is their daily lives. And the story that accompanies it all is very intriguing, though not without fault. If I had to criticize the story, I would have to say that it can try to be a bit overly complex for its own good at times. Not to the point where it all becomes nonsensical, but more so that things can seem a bit overly sporadic and slightly disjointed at times. But all in all, Akira is still an absolutely fantastic movie, and one that I would highly recommend to people who haven't really delved into older anime that much. Because if you have, then I'm fairly sure that you will have already watched this one. But enough about Akira, let's move on to the next recommendation. Up next, we have the original SDF Macross from 1982. Not Robotech, but Macross. This 36-episode TV series was produced by Studio Artland, who's currently seeking restructuring help, and Tatsunoko Production, with Noboru Ishiguro serving as the director on this project. He has also directed shows like Legend of the Galactic Heroes and co-directed the original Space Battleship Yamato. The synopsis for Macross goes something like this. Humanity has set aside its cultural differences and are all united under the banner of the United Nations. After a mysterious spaceship crashes into Earth, making humanity realize that they are not alone in the universe and fearing a potential new threat from space, the UN quickly starts repurposing the spacecraft into the SDF-1 Macross. On the day of the Macross maiden voyage, however, the Earth is attacked by an alien race known as the Centradi, which sparks an intergalactic war. In an attempt to escape, the Macross and all the people on board is teleported into the far reaches of space. Caught up in this mess are Hikaru Ichijo, a free-spirited aerobatic pilot, and Lin Minmei, an aspiring idol. Now these two, along with the rest of the people on the Macross, are face to face with a war so big it might even destroy their home planet. Man, Macross. I don't even know where to really begin with this. It was a show that by the sound of it, I shouldn't enjoy. Mecha, idols, poor production that only got worse as the show continued, tuna in space. When it was explained to me, I almost thought it was a parody of something like Yamato. Then I actually sat down to watch it, and I quickly realized that Macross isn't as weird as it sounds. Sure, defeating aliens with idol music and culture is still pretty weird even in context, and some of the story beats feel less thought out than others. But by and large, this show is an amazing ride that both manages to make you laugh, get angry, and get excited. For the fights, that is. It borrows aspects that makes shows like Yamato great, but it manages to use it to show off its own strengths. And the things that doesn't fit as naturally into the story, they force it to fit. Sometimes it works out, and other times it makes it seem silly. And while you can look at that in a negative light, I still think it helps make Macross a fun and enjoyable experience. Also, everything set in space is just objectively cool. That kinda seems to be the theme of my channel lately. But anyways, Macross is not a show that I should enjoy. And while it's not always smooth sailing, I still ended up enjoying it a lot. And I think it's worth checking out. Besides, you have to experience some true culture. Last but not least on this list of recommendations, we have a movie from 1983 produced by Studio Sunrise called Crusher Joe. This movie was directed by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, who's worked more as an animator and mangaka than a director. The story follows a group of Crushers, intergalactic jacks of all trades, who will take on any assignment as long as you're willing to pay the right price. Crusher Joe is the head of a small team consisting of the cyborg Talos, the beautiful Alfin, and the obligatory kid sidekick Ricky. One day, while on a mission to transport a cryogenically frozen heiress to a hospital, the mission fails and the heiress and the people they were transporting has disappeared. And worse yet, the Crushers are being framed by the space pirates. But Joe doesn't take kindly to this and tracks the space pirates to their home world. Now him and his team have come to rescue their human cargo, but not before they get one back on the space pirates who set them up. Get ready for a lot of space dogfights, explosions, and even some good old-fashioned hand-to-hand combat. Okay, so Crusher Joe is by far the least popular show I've recommended on my channel so far. I mean, it's got a 6.9 rating on Mal. But before we start passing judgment, just hear me out. Crusher Joe is better than a lot of people give it credit for. Yes, it's a flawed movie. Yes, the story is very basic. And yes, the lack of a proper director also doesn't help. However, despite this, what the movie doesn't lack is visual flair and a fun cast of characters. Everyone has a basic personality set to them and basically just fulfill their stereotype, but they manage to make them fun with nice expressive animation and small quirks that shine through when the entire cast is together. How it handles its characters is very similar to something like Dirty Pair in that regard, and that's not by accident either, since the original manga that the movie is based on was written by Haruka Takachiho, who, you guessed it, also wrote the manga for Dirty Pair. Another show with a heavy emphasis on action and basic, yet fun characters in a fairly simple story. Now, obviously, I wouldn't recommend this show if you're looking for something deeper, because that's not what you're gonna get here. You're gonna get a bombastic action movie, as there were many of in the 80s. This movie might be very 80s, but that doesn't stop it from being an enjoyable ride, as well as a movie that I would highly recommend people check out. So those were all my recommendations for this video. Hopefully between Akira, Macross, and Crusher Joe, you found something to your liking, and if you did, let me know which one you decided to watch in the comments. This little mini-series of mine has been very fun to put together so far. But now I've only got the 70s one left after this. I may do more in the future, but I haven't decided yet. So if you want me to make more of these, then let me know with a comment, a like, and subscribe for more anime related content from the anime top scholar himself. So, until next time, peace.